Eruvin Daf Tzaddik, an email from Yaakov Razner. Dear Rebelli, you can't imagine what joy I had Erev Shabbos when I opened my phone to do my regular learning schedule and saw the comeback of the 8-minute Dav I love so much. Something I always look forward to, as well as your remarkably well-explained day-to-day shir. A big shekayach to you and all the devoted staff members working so hard to make this happen, etc., etc. Yaakov Razner Yisher Koyach. Jumping into Daf Tzaddik and Eruvin, an amazing Daf. We had the other day an apartment building, say, that has a flat roof. Many people live below the roof. According to Rav and Chachamim, we don't invoke the concept of a good asik mechitzah. We don't say that imaginary walls bust through the roof, since they're not discernible. You can't see an outline of the walls, so you don't say good asik mechitzah. As the Gemara Safek, according to this, and the Gemara remains in a Safek and a Teku. Since this roof is considered a karmelis according to Rav, in other words, you have these different reshuyos that come through the roof, but no walls. And when you have a reshus that you cannot carry in, it makes it also for you to carry where you are, and therefore Rav limits you to 4 amas only. Can you take those 4 amas and split them up? Carry 2 amas on the roof, and 2 amas on an chsadra. Chsadra is sort of a pergola. Rashi says it's on an angle, in order so we can't say Pitikr Yorid V'Saisam. It's on an angle. It's more than 2 saw in area, and therefore the question is as follows: do we say that you can't walk on a rooftop more than 4 amas into another rishus because the rishus of the resident below pops through the roof? But when it comes to a pergola, there's nobody living in a pergola, so there's no rishus coming through the roof of the pergola. So perhaps you should be able to walk from the roof or carry from the roof to the pergola. On the other hand, maybe it has nothing to do with the rishus coming through. It has to do with the ownership. And since the achsadra is owned by someone else, it's also to carry from the roof to the achsadra, which is owned by somebody else. Now, if you will tell me that the achsadra and the rooftop are considered one rishus, and you're permitted to carry from the rooftop to the achsadra, what about another situation? Another case. Can you carry from a rooftop to a churva, to ruins? Now, ruins are a little bit more habitable than a chsadra. All you need to do is fix it up. On the other hand, it's not fixed up. Today, right now, it's not habitable. So perhaps it shouldn't be a problem. Because if you say that it's habitable, then it's 2 rishuyos and you can't walk from one to the other. The Gemara remains in a safek. The Gemara says that's pashat, that to walk from the rooftop, which is a karmelis, to a beam in the middle of Rishus HaRabim, that's or Rishus HaYachid, I should say. The beam is 10 tefachim high, 4 tefachim wide. You cannot go from a karmelis to a Rishus HaYachid. According to Rav, if you have a single residence that has a very large roof, or Rav and Remeir, who also holds that if it's different residence, but it's one flat roof, it's considered one. Why is it that I could carry on this roof as much as I want, according to Rav? Now, Rav limited us before to 4 amas, and that's because you're open to another rishus. But now you're not open to another rishus. It's owned by one person. He says you could carry on the entire roof. The problem is, though, that this roof is next to Rishus HaRabim. Shouldn't the Rishus HaRabim make it usher for me? One Rishus open to another Rishus. Now my rooftop is open to Rishus HaRabim. That's usher. So it should make me usher to carry on the roof. And the answer is very interesting. Rav agrees that in this case, it's considered mechitzos nikaros. You could see the mechitzos. If you're standing on the roof, you could tell that there's side walls. And those walls which surround the building come upwards with good asik mechitzah, and they surround the building and they create a Rishus HaYachid. Now your rooftop is no longer open to the Rishus HaRabim, they're surrounded with mechitzas. Before, where the mechitzah wasn't nikar, it's in the middle of the building. You want the mechitzah to come upwards in the middle of a building, that Rav says you can't do. There's no good asik mechitzah when it's not nikar. According to Shmuel, you can make a different distinction. A distinction of a rooftop that's more than 2 saw and less than 2 saw. If the rooftop is less than 2 saw, then I say good asik mechitzah, and I could carry on the entire rooftop. Whereas if the rooftop is more than 2 saw, Shmuel doesn't say that you could say good asik mechitzah when it's not mukaf ladira, when it's not for a residence. Whereas Rav says you could say good asik mechitzah even if it's larger than 2 saw. According to Shmuel, in Rabbanon, in other words, you have a single rooftop that's more than 2 saw, and he says it's also to carry more than Dalet Amas, a reverse of a Shita before. Why is it that it's also to carry from a rooftop in Rabbanon to a karfaf? Karfaf is an enclosed area. Shouldn't this rooftop be like a karfaf? It's more than 2 saw, so is the karfaf more than 2 saw. And the answer the Gemara says very interesting. We are concerned that the rooftop might go missing. Some of it might go missing. Somebody might do a renovation, and you won't pay attention to that. And the rooftop now turned into Rosh Hashanah. It's less than 2 saw. And from Rosh Hashanah to a karfaf is also. But from a karfaf to a karfaf, we're not concerned somebody might chop down part of the karfaf, because that you'll recognize. Since karfaf are surrounded by mechitzos, anything that's surrounded by mechitzos is easy to recognize when it becomes smaller. What about a ship? A ship that's more than 2 saw. Rav says you can carry an entire ship. I have walls, I have mechitzos. The side walls of the ship go upwards. And according to Shmuel, you're limited to 4 amas, because the mechitzos on the side of the ship are not there for you to live and to make a residence. They're there to keep the water out. The Gemara tells us that Rav Chia bar Yosef asked Shmuel, who's the halacha like? According to Rav Ashi, he was asking him about this exact case. And Shmuel said, I retract my shita and let's go with Rav. You're permitted to carry on the entire ship. According to another mandal, Rav Acha, the question was posed to him on a chsadra. If you build a pergola in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the desert, in other words, it's not up against the house, because if it was even one wall, everybody would agree that you're allowed to carry an entire chsadra. But it's wide open on all 4 sides. According to Rav, we say pi tikkur yori v'soisim. There's a halacha mishum Sinai that the beam on top comes all the way down and creates a mechitza on all 4 sides, all 4 beams, 4 sides, and therefore I could carry the entire thing. And Shmuel says no pi tikkur yori v'soisim. In that, Rav Acha says Shmuel retracted his shita and went with Rav. Rav Yehuda says an amazing thing. If you're medactic, if you look deep into these following 3 shitas, you'll see the following thing. We have Mikatz L'Katza. We have Reb Shimon, who says that a gag, chotz, and a karfaf are considered one rishus. All 3, one category. And I could carry from one to the other. According to Reb Meir, each one is an individual rishus. I could carry from a chotzer to a chotzer, as Rashi explains, from an individual chotzer to an individual chotzer, or from a public chotzer to a public chotzer. But I cannot carry from a chotzer to a gag, and from a gag to a karfaf. But I could carry from a karfaf to a karfaf, and from a chotzer to chotzer, and from a gag to a gag. And then you have the middle sheet of chachamim that you could carry from a gag to a chotzer and from a chotzer to a gag, but not from those 2 to a karfaf, which is a category by itself. Have a wonderful day.